Good evening, everybody, and welcome. This is our Mason County Commission meeting for September 25th, 2018. Who's it going to be? Jennifer, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Commissioner District 1, Randy Netherland.
I'm here.
Commissioner District 2, Kevin Shooting.
Here.
Commissioner District 3, Terry Drexler.
Here.
Correspondence and item number 4, correspondence and organizational business. Do we have any correspondence to come before us tonight?
Yes. Chauffeurs, Teamsters, and Helpers Union Local 252 sent in notice of contract openings for Mason County Juvenile Detention, appraisers, probation, public works, and general services. Washington State Liquor and Cannabis Board sent liquor license applications for Rotary Club Shelton and Shelton Rotary Foundation, both held at Port of Shelton, 21 Sanderson Way in Shelton. State of Washington Department of Ecology sent an invitation for Watershed Restoration and Enhancement Committee for the Kitsap Peninsula Watershed. And the Department of Archaeology and Historic Preservation sent notice that Ebenezer Congregational Church / Allen Historic Church has been listed in the National Register of Historic Places.
Thank you. Is there any other correspondence or organizational business to come before us today?
No.
Item number 5 is our open forum for citizens input. This is your opportunity to speak to the commission about any item that is not on the agenda. You'll be given 5 minutes per person. Oh, somebody's coming in, so I'm going to finish the whole spiel. I was going to cut it short. This is your opportunity to speak to the commission on any issue that is not on the agenda. If it's on the agenda, you'll be given an opportunity to speak at that time. But if it's not on the agenda, this is your opportunity to come and speak before us. We ask that you please raise your hand and be recognized by the commission. We will ask you to come up, and we hope that you will give your name and perhaps where you're from. There's a 5-minute per person limit, 15 minutes total. With that being said, is there anybody in the audience who would like to speak to the commission on any issue that is not on the agenda? No? Oh.
It's on there.
With that being said, one more time, is there anybody who would like to speak on any issue that is not on the agenda? Hearing none, we will move forward to item number 6, the adoption of the agenda.
Mr. Chair, I was going to make a motion to amend tonight's agenda to add item 9.1, watershed planning.
Okay, you don't need to make a motion if there's no objections. Is there any objection to adding that? Okay.
Okay, so Mr. Chair, I move the adoption of a revised agenda, adding item 9.1.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded for the adoption of today's agenda, adding item 9.1 to the agenda. And the 9.1 is to speak on
Watershed planning.
watershed planning. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. The motion carries. All right, item number 7, approval of the minutes.
Mr. Chair, I move approval of the minutes from August 7th and August 28th, 2018's regular meeting.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded for the approval of the minutes for August 7th, August 28th, 2018 regular meeting minutes. Any additions or subtractions? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. The motion carries. Item number 8, approval of the action agenda. All items listed under the action agenda may be enacted by one motion unless a commissioner or citizen requests an item to be removed from the action agenda and considered as a separate item. We'll read the items to you. You'll be given an opportunity to ask questions. If you want to testify on the issue, please go ahead and have it removed, and we will give you that opportunity to testify. With that being said, I will read item number 8.1. Commissioner Drexler, if you'll read 8.2, and Commissioner Shu, if you read 8.3. Item number 8.1, approval of warrants and Treasurer's electronic remittance. Claims Clearing Fund warrants number 8059046-8059277 for a total of $2,210,879.61.
Item 8.2, approval of the formal letter of termination for the Foothills County Park Attendant contractual agreement with Victor Kofelt. The letter is dated September 25th, 2018, with a move-out date of October 17th, 2018.
Item number 8.3, approval to enter into a release and hold harmless agreement with Cindy and Richard Caston to settle all claims or potential claims of erroneous pay scale setting and to pay the sum of $78,963.60 for retroactive wages to supplement the April 1st, 2014 through September 25th, 2018 for the erroneously set pay scale. Thereafter, the Y-rated annual salary shall be set at $95,424.48 until such time as the range shall catch up to that salary level or said incumbent vacates the position, whichever shall occur first. At which time the salary shall be consistent with the then existing non-represented salary scale range alignment. This adjustment will be funded out of the Mason County Sheriff's Office's Salaries and Benefits Accounts, Fund 001-205-270.
Thank you. Now that each of these items has been read to you, is there anybody in the public who has any questions on any of the items that was just presented? Hearing no questions, is there any item that you would like taken off for a separate vote? Commissioners, any items you'd like taken off?
No.
Then I will entertain a motion. We're going way too fast. We have to go to 6:30 to start a hearing. So.
Mr. Chair, I move approval of today's action agenda items 8.1 through 8.3 as presented.
And I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded for the approval of the action agenda as presented, 8.1 through 8.3. Any further comments or statements? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The motion carries. Next up is other business, department heads and elected officials. Item number 9.1, we are going to talk about, what's the thing, what'd you call it here? Watershed planning. Would you like to give us a quick brief on what it is for the public?
Dave Wyndham, Mason County Community Services Director. So with the passage of the Hearst bill last year, Part 203 requires that the county participate in watershed planning for those watersheds that have not adopted a plan. So in our area, that's WIA 14. 15 will be getting an update, but what we're looking at tonight is WIA 14, which is Goldsboro, Johns Creek, Mill Creek, those drainages. So Ecology has asked us to sign a letter of commitment to participate in the committee process that will develop the watershed planning that will eventually become watershed rule.
Any question? Yes.
So, but I understand we have to sign a letter of commitment for both 14
both,
and
right.
15, is that correct? Okay.
Right.
Thank you. Is there any questions from the audience? Hearing none, I will entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move that we authorize the Chair of the Board of County Commissioners to sign a letter of commitment to participate in watershed planning for watershed resource inventory areas 14 and 15.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded for to authorize the Chair of the Board of County Commissioners to sign a letter of commitment to participate in the watershed planning for watershed resource inventory areas 14 and 15. Any further comment?
Just for the public's knowledge, the commission had previously spoken about this in a briefing and had determined that they would like to appoint Commissioner Schutte to represent the county in watershed planning 14 and Commissioner Netherland to represent the county in watershed 15.
Thank you for that clarification. Any other further comments? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries. Is there any department heads or elected officials who would like to speak at this time? Okay, hearing none, we will skip item 10 for the moment because we cannot start until 6:30. We'll go right into calendars. Commissioner Schutte, would you like to begin, please? Commissioner Drexler, and then myself.
Sure. One item from last week, had an opportunity to attend the Shelton Mason County Chamber of Commerce's annual State of the Community Address. Commissioner Netherland was the presenter on behalf of the county, and appreciated listening to his remarks. It was a great opportunity for us to also hear from the city and the port, as well as the tribe, on the work that they're doing. And there's no doubt a lot of enthusiasm for some projects that are coming Mason County's way. For those of us who are downtown regularly, we're seeing the fruits of those labors here in the city as we drive around town, but nonetheless, we're excited for a lot of the progress that's happening in the city and around the county. Looking forward, the rest of this week, tomorrow I have the Housing and Behavioral Health Advisory Board meeting. We'll be attending the North Mason Chamber lunch, and then in the evening, I'll be attending the BHO opioid forum here in town. Later this week, I'll be meeting with the BHO, the Behavioral Health Organization, in the city to talk about their projects. Also have the Sheriff's Breakfast, PUD1 Commissioner Appreciation Barbecue, and then a picnic out at Truman Glick Park that's hosted by our park hosts out there. They have it every year for staff that help them out at the park. So it's just a way for them to say thank you to our park staff. And then next week, have a criminal justice working team jail subcommittee meeting. Back for briefings and our Tuesday meeting.
Following last week's meeting, I'll just hit the highlights because I announced my calendar prior. I met with the director of a new nonprofit in Mason County that's looking to become a resource center and eventually a teen homeless center for youth who've been basically just don't have the kind of supports they need at home. And I wish them all luck, and I'm going to try to hope, not luck, but best wishes on their work, and hopefully try to help them with some funding. I also met with the one of the proponents for the local YMCA about that project and ways that I can help support that. And then we had our budget advisory committee meeting. And then I had a meeting of the Thurston Mason Behavioral Health Organization. We approved the hiring of more, they're called designated crisis responders, and saw some numbers, some astonishing numbers. The Behavioral Health Organization set up a nonprofit LLC to help meet a void in folks that will be called by your hospitals, by law enforcement, by your courts, to determine whether an individual is of danger to themselves and others and should probably be voluntarily committed. We saw the numbers that said something like in 2017, prior to these folks standing up to this work, maybe 6 people in Mason County had been referred to this type of evaluation. And up to date for 2018, we're up to 2,500. And so they're pretty overworked there, and so we're hiring up. And my hat's off to that staff, because I think that has a lot to do with the quick response times and just the comprehensive attention they give to the organizations that use them. I traveled to Ellensburg for the Washington State Association of Counties board meeting and sat in on their legislative steering committee meeting. This week, we had the Hood Canal Coordinating Council Integrated Watershed Planning Team made some decisions for recommendations about distribution of monies from the National Estuary Program. I had a exit audit conference for the Lewis Mason Thurston Area Agency on Aging. We had our Board of Health meeting, and then we had a budget briefing. And then I will travel to Spokane and then to Pullman for the Transportation Improvement Board meeting, and back here for briefings on Monday.
Okay, I had Mason Transit Authority meeting. I also attended a special meeting up in the North Mason region in regards to something called Papa Bear, and I think it was Top Dog. What it is actually a group of people have come together in order to start to put together a group of mentors and parents that will go to the schools and actually be there, not just for their child, but for other children, to give them an ability to have interaction, also to have more people around with eyes on them, trying to help them to do the right thing and tell them how to do the right thing, but also see when there's troubles and other things that are happening. It's an organization that started, I guess, back east, and it's moved its way up here, and it's being led by a gentleman named Blaine, who's everything he touches turns wonderful. So I have no doubt this is going to be a wonderful organization. I've already volunteered to be a part of it, and I'm going to try and do it when my own child's not there, because you can imagine how that might embarrass your kids when they're there. And I have them in all 3 of the schools, so poor guys. I'm sorry. It's the way it is, though. North Mason Resources, I had some things that are going on there, and I went down there to meet with them and talk about some of their issues. I also attended the Chamber of Commerce State of the Community. I gotta say, I really appreciate that they give all of these organizations an opportunity to come and speak to the our citizens out here. It was very well attended. There was a lot of things that were said, a lot of interesting information. But more than that, it's just an opportunity for all of us to interact, and that's always appreciated. I had a Memorial Hall meeting. I had a meeting of the Peninsula Regional Transportation Organization where we moved forward with the idea the state no longer wants to be the director for us. So we're moving forward with the idea of talking to Grays Harbor and their organization about running ours. And they may be teaming up with us here as well. Both me and Commissioner Drexler were at a mosquito fleet event that they were having, and it's kind of pretty awesome. We worked at different tables, just so you know. She was on this, but it's become a community event. Imagine a bunch of people from the region, a lot of them from Belfair and outside region, coming out there picking the raisins off of the grapes or the leaves off the grapes, everything for all the wine that's going to be pressed. They really have turned Belfair into a mecca for wine. Imagine the number 3 best wine in the Pacific Northwest came from Belfair. The number 1 cab came from Belfair. Never thought we could have said that, but that's the way it worked out. And so if you get an opportunity, you ever have a chance, come down and enjoy it. It's like taking a snapshot out of
Doing it
Italy.
right now, actually.
Yeah, it's like, you know, attending a family event in Italy. It's just very enjoyable, and you get a chance to meet with a lot of nice people.
Commissioner, I have the vision in my head of the I Love Lucy episode.
Yeah, yeah.
Was it anything like that?
They won't let me anywhere near stomping on grapes with my but
Roll your pants up.
They do stomp for port,
Yeah.
but not for any of their table wines.
but it really is awesome though. Wouldn't you say it's just it's an
Oh, it's so
incredible
much fun.
community
It's
event.
so much fun.
And a lot of people show up for it. It's getting to be more and more.
And they feed you.
Yes, they do. Well, they get free workout. But it's wonderful. If you get a chance, Mosquito Fleet Wine, give them a call in Belfair. They've got some more events like that planned. Come on out and hopefully I'll see you there. I'll take some chance, some time to see it. I attended a briefing, a Board of Health meeting. We had a budget meeting also today, and I also attended the North Mason Community Voice, North Mason Chamber of Commerce candidate event. It's the first one I've attended all year. I've been staying away from it, but it was very interesting and very well attended. 190 some odd people showed up for that event. They really came through. It's probably the biggest one I can remember seeing. So after that, and just so you know, folks, we're still trying to kill time, so we're ad-libbing a little bit here. North Mason Chamber of Commerce is having their regular luncheon, and did you say you'll be attending?
I did,
that?
yeah.
I'll probably be there as well. The EDC is, their ledge committee is getting together to do some interviews. I'll be doing that. Let's see. I have a retirement party for Charles. He'll be retiring from Public Works. I'll be attending that. Up there at Maple Glen, they're having a cook-off. They've asked me to see if I could bring something to participate and enter in. If not, I will be one of the judges. Briefings, there's a port meeting. I have a left board meeting. We also have the elected officials meeting that we will all be attending. And the one that I can't read. So with that being said, that's where we're at for our calendars. Anything interesting happening that anybody wants to tell us about while we kill another 5 minutes? So, I would love to hear about your last competition. Would you mind coming up and tell us about that wonderful competition you were in?
Which one?
The shooting competition you just did? Was it muzzle loaded or? Yeah.
Yeah.
You get caught, and you have to do something to kill the time, guys.
Commissioner, I would like to say something, though. I
Oh.
want to remind folks that Oyster Fest is coming up October 6th and 7th, Mason County's biggest event of the year.
She'll be handling the
Please come on
RVs, I'll be
down.
cooking and eating ribs.
How about
And you'll
we go
be
on
keeping
to
it safe.
Yeah, I'll make sure it's safe. That's right. Yeah. So I keep getting asked to participate in food booths. You know, I can't because I'm the guy that
Oh, that's right,
you know
yeah.
I have to be able to
That's
drop
one
the
way to
hammer.
get out of the work, isn't it?
Works for me. so I could talk about fire danger though.
Yeah, well, didn't you just take first place in something?
Yeah. So yeah. Okay.
For the record.
So for the record. Yeah. So for the last I don't know 25 or more years, I've been putting on a shoot in Montana. It's my man rendezvous. So we have we shoot muzzle loaders and throw the hawk and knife and bow and so this summer was the first time in all those years that I've been putting on my own event. I took first place aggregate score. So I shoot a flintlock, I shoot a smoothbore pistol, and I was using primitive archery. So, yeah, first time at my own event. It was kind of cool.
You're a true runs. Now, wait a minute. Your own event. Were you the only one participating?
No, we had over 50 shooters. So, yeah, it was all legit.
Tired of losing, narrows the field.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I changed the date.
A true Renaissance man. So if you want to tell us now about the fire, you're more than welcome.
Okay,
to.
so-
I want
so-
to hear about that.
So fire danger, we are obviously the weather is changing. We did talk with DNR in the last couple of days. DNR's fire regulations are going to expire Sunday night at midnight. So our fire regulations are going to match what DNR has. So Sunday night we're going to roll those back. Residential burning will be back on next week, so we'll be coming out with a news release later this week. But you will still need, for the larger burns, you still have to get a burn permit. So, and those will be coming through our office as well. So, and that should roll out. Like I said, 8 o'clock Monday morning, we'll have those regulations changed. So this is the first year that we've ever been able to make sure that our regs or our policies and DNRs match. So we've had a lot of communication this year to make sure that we're not putting out different messages to the public.
How's that new verbiage worked out that we've been?
So we're not saying burn ban anymore. So it's burn restrictions, because when we use the term burn ban, everybody thinks everything off all the time. But what we've gone to is burn restrictions. So we have different levels of burn restrictions. So at the most, we had everything off to include campfires. Then when we relaxed that, we added campfires back to the piece, and now we're going to add the residential burning back to the piece as well. So, and again, permits for the larger burns.
Excellent. Any
So-
questions? No? We thank you very much. So we still have to
For
make
killing
this-
4 minutes, okay.
Yeah, you did well. As I said, you're a true Renaissance man. No, we very much appreciate it. So, you have anything else for the good of the order, guys? All right. Next up, we're going to be having 2 public hearings. Item number 10.1 will be a hearing to consider proposed amendments to the motorboat regulations. Item number 2 will be an issue on supplementals. And I just couldn't stretch that out near enough. All right.
Just waiting for the ball to drop.
Yeah. We are opening a public hearing to consider proposed amendments to the motorboat regulations. Mason County Code, Chapter 9.04. Proposed amendments include, but may not be limited to, changing language regarding buoy placement from the shoreline to mark the minimum water skiing distance on fresh water. Staff, Diane Zorn.
Good evening, Diane
Good
Zorn,
evening.
Support Services. As stated, this is a public hearing to consider amendments to the motorboat regulations. I don't have any specific language to present. But if the commissioners have, we'll make it happen.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions for staff? based on her. Okay, thank you. We will go ahead and open this up.
It's gonna be a short hearing.
Public testimony. Is there any public that would like to testify? Yes. Please. We'd ask that you please come up and perhaps tell us who you are and maybe where you're from.
Okay. My name is Brad Moore, and I'm a resident in Timber Lakes community, and I'm also the chair of Lake Safety and Use Rules Committee, and I've been asked by the board in the community to come and represent them and bring some ideas, some rationale for change for the boating regulations. I did bring some supporting documents. I have copies for you. Would it be appropriate
Yes,
to hand
please.
those out now? Okay.
Considering you're the public, we're going to be a little flexible with how we do this.
Okay. This might help.
Thank
We
you.
can move along a little quicker. What I put on here is, first of all, the current ordinance. This is 9.04235. It has to do with the shoreline buoy markers. As we all know, it states now that lake waterfront property owners may place one appropriate floating buoy 150 feet from the respective shoreline to mark the minimum water skiing distance on fresh water. We'd like to propose a slight change in that would meet our needs at Timber Lakes, and I think there's probably other lakes in Mason County that it would as well. And that is to add 2 words in the same sentence. Lake waterfront property owners may place one appropriate floating buoy up to 150 feet from the respective shoreline to mark the minimum water skiing distance on fresh water. That would certainly meet our needs, and I'm going to explain why. I basically have 4 rationales for changing this. First of all, our community feel that one specific buoy distance from shoreline probably doesn't meet the needs of every single lake in Mason County. I think as a general, I think it works probably well for some lakes, but Timber Lakes, we feel that that's a little bit far for us in some areas on our lake because of the narrowness that would create. And we think that that would actually reduce safety by creating a very narrow path for boats to travel rather than keeping it a little bit wider. So on certain parts of Timber Lake, it would make sense to our committee and to the community to be able to modify that slightly so that we can control with buoys where the boats go, but also create enough space to make it safe. And that's really what we're asking for. The 3 things that we feel are important, and I'm sure you do too. Number 1 is safety is a first priority. When we just developed our new rules, that's what we considered as safety first. 2 was how can we maximize use by so many different ways of using a lake. And 3 is how can we protect the shorelines when possible from both wakes. And I think we're on the same page when it comes to that. Buoy placement on Timber Lakes, the big lake, because that's the only lake of the 2 that we have buoys, has been controlled by the board of directors of the community since it started back in the 60s. And it's not controlled, or it's not provided an opportunity for waterfront property owners to place their own buoys. And there's a reason for that. It has to do with jurisdiction of the land in Timber Lakes. When Timber Lakes was first platted out, the big section of Timber Lakes community, before it was individually separated into lots, where the lakes sit are within that plat. And therefore the land is part of Timber Lakes community. And when we brought water in and built Timber Lake, it was a man-made lake, the land underneath that is part of this plat, which is owned by the community. And therefore, the waterfront property owners don't own the water underneath the lake in front of their property. And the community has always controlled that. The couple rationales for that. One is in our bylaws, it says that the association has jurisdiction over all land within the development. And that water under the lakes, both lakes actually, is within the development. And the plat information is here, so you can leave that. It came directly from our bylaws. Therefore, the land under the water of both lakes is within the original Timber Lakes development plat as described above and not privately owned. Therefore, it is under TCC, which is the Community Club jurisdiction. Something else that we do at Timber Lakes is we control the access to the lake. We have a ramp. It's the only ramp that you can use to put boats on and off the lake. It is controlled with a chain across and a padlock that has actually just been replaced. And each member who registers a boat legally with the community are the only people that get a key to that lock. So we have control of that. We talked about this in our community, and we'd like to respectfully suggest to the commissioners to consider this, is to consider code language allowing lakes with restricted access, like Timber Lakes, and governed by an HOA, like Timber Lakes, are expressly permitted to establish skiing distances from shores and speed limits as per their HOA covenants and codes, which was exactly what we follow. And the fourth point, and I guess I would say this too, is that there's three things that we thought that this would accomplish. One is we think that would make Timber Lake, the big lake, safer. We think it will also enhance the overall use by more people. And three has to do with liability. I think if we establish our own rules and we enforce those rules with our board, then we are taking on that liability rather than the county. So I think it actually reduces the county liability with us taking that, because we're enforcing it, we're developing the rules, and we're making sure people follow. Okay? The last point is this, is that we have developed rules for years, about 50 years. We've had an excellent safety record at Timber Lakes. We've regulated those rules. We have our own Lake Safety and Use Rules Committee. And the reason why we do that is because of the unique size and the shape of the lake that we are using. And I think over 50 years we've been doing this, so that's why we're asking for this change. Again, the regulation within the bylaws states that the association, the Timber Lakes Community Club, through its board of directors, may create reasonable rules and regulations for the use of a common area, and the lakes are common areas for our community. Most recent updated, I included the most recent updated lake safety and use rules that we just submitted and recorded with the county in April of this year. We go through this regularly, and we're updating these and following these. We have our own rules committee that monitor and patrol the lake, and our board enforces these rules and regulations with the community. And the last thing is a specific example, and it has to do with speed. The county says, Mason County's ordinance says that the speed can be up to 50 miles per hour. We think that's way too fast for our lake, so we have reduced the maximum speed to 35, and that's only for boats that are not towing or skiing. And the reason why skiing is because that's what we feel is sort of the minimum for someone skiing on one ski. They have to have a certain speed to accomplish that, so that's why 35 for boating and skiing, but 25 for anytime you tow someone on a tube or a wakeboard and so on. Okay. Those are slower speeds. I think that affords us an opportunity for a couple things. I think it increases safety on Timber Lake, and I think it also provides an opportunity to adjust the buoy placement because the boats are traveling slower, and in some cases half the speed on some lakes in Mason County. And therefore I think that there's an opportunity to adjust those buoys to make it work for Timber Lakes to create safe operation of both boats and also human-powered water vessels. Also increase usability for recreation throughout the lake, and create opportunities with the buoys so that we can reduce shoreline erosion from the boat wakes whenever possible, and do the best we can to keep that to a minimum. And that's really what I wanted to say. I did put in our bylaws in here so you can read those exactly what it says. I also put in the new lake safety and use rules so you could look through those, and we just ask for your consideration. These two words would make a difference for our use on the lake. I think it would keep us safer. I think it would increase usability, and it would help us with the shoreline protection. So thank you for your time. And
Yep.
I appreciate the opportunity to speak to you. This is good.
Thank you
Yeah,
very
thank
much.
you.
Mr. Chair, I do have
Yes,
just a
Yes,
real
oh,
quick
sure.
question.
Yeah.
On the speed limits, how do you enforce those?
I have a speedometer. Most boats have a speedometer. Also, there's some GPS instruments that we can use. But most of it, to be honest, is a judgment call. I can come pretty close because I've been boating for a long time. I can watch. If someone, it's pretty hard to say they're going exactly this, but it's pretty obvious to us when someone is going beyond that 35. I usually travel between 20 and 25 in my boat. It's obvious to me when someone's traveling much faster than that.
And then what do you do when?
I flag them over and say, you know, it looks to me like you're going a little bit fast. Do you have a speedometer? You know, please keep an eye on that. We think that anything beyond 35 is just unsafe on this lake.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Is there anybody else who'd like to testify on this issue? Any other public? Hearing none, we will close the public testimony and move to commissioner deliberations. Who wants to start?
I want to start with, first of all, disclosing that I am also a property owner in Timberlake and a waterfront owner, and I have met with the board of the Timberlake Community Club on this very issue. And whatever we do today, if it's specific to Timberlake, I would have to recuse myself. But if it is in our code for all folks that might be affected, I believe I can vote.
I would agree with that. Would you?
I would too, yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Sure.
Can we start with the first one? With the one that is for, we know is for every lake?
Right. Well, this is what I wanted to kind of discuss a little bit about, and I don't know if you would like me to propose a motion first for discussion, but as I was looking at, it seems so iterative to me because we've been dealing with this issue for quite some time, but if I look at code 9.04.235 shoreline marker buoys, and the language that's currently in there, it does say lake waterfront property owners may place one appropriate floating buoy. And so this is the intention for a lake that does not have restricted access and under the ownership of another organization such as the Timberlake one. And so I've drafted some language that I can read, but you know, that perhaps we could add language to this particular section of the code to say homeowner organizations with the authority to restrict access to freshwater bodies may place buoys up, and that's plural, buoys up to 150 feet from the shoreline in a pattern and an amount necessary for regulating safe use of the lake. And I feel like that piece about the ability to restrict the access can be the dividing line between who can and who cannot have this authority, because you have the ability to restrict access due to ownership. And so I don't know, I just wanted to get your thoughts about that. But the thought that this one still talks about a shoreline owner and one buoy wouldn't suffice it for this situation.
I'll take it first. The only issue with, it's actually several questions in that. Keeping it simple for the up to, I like that idea, and I think that's one that works the best. Being able and allowing for more buoys, next thing you know, people have 12 buoys out there, and no matter what, the lands are still going to be state water and stuff. But because something's restricted by access by somebody else, doesn't mean that it's not absolutely controlled by the state laws still. You can't have personal watercraft going within 150 feet as well. That's a state law, not us. But also you have properties that in lakes that are owned by Green Diamond, we'll say, but yet they're still allowed access, and people are allowed access to go swimming on them. But we regulate those lakes and say you can't use motor boats on them, you can't do other things on them. So if we start specifying that it doesn't have to be that if there's ownership of it, that they can change all that, I think that puts a lot of the things that have been done for the last 50 years here in danger. You know, you remember I live in North Mason. I have a lot of lakes up there. You know, you have that are DNR lakes, or you know, not all of them have homes around them at all. Some of them are just owned by logging companies.
So I'm not quite sure on the restricted access. It was not clear to me what you were saying. Could you kind of try to restate that?
Because they have control over the access of it.
Who's they?
Let's say Green Diamond. I'm using that as
I know.
a-
I'm trying to think of other examples, and so I just wanted to hear your
Green
examples. Okay.
As an example, I'm sure there's other property owners that own lakes too. I don't have the name right in front of me, but I bet you if we looked at the records, we'll find there's other lakes and ponds that property owners have.
Okay.
And it may be smaller, it may be a little bigger, but you know, the ability to allow them to start to dictate whether they can have these other things on it and water skiing on it and stuff like that, we'd have to change the way we do everything. Because currently there are all kinds of other lakes that are restricted for water skiing or restricted for this. We just restricted one for 7.5 horsepower.
Okay. I understand, but you're going down a slippery slope argument. We're talking about buoy placement and number of buoys and pattern of buoys. I'm not talking about the other things. In the language I shared, it was about buoys.
And what I'm talking about is any law that applies should apply to all, not just one or two. If it applies, it should apply to all. So as for the buoys, I think our law should apply to all of them, not just, and not take any specifically out, is what I'm saying. Unless you actually call it out specifically. We have done that for speeds and stuff like that, or for whether they can use motors. But to do it just for buoys and to allow for, if we do that, next thing you know, you have, somebody can have 6 buoys out there. Is that what we want? Is that what we should allow? Because we are still responsible for it, and if we weren't, the laws wouldn't be in our court. So it's definitely our responsibility and our job to make sure that it doesn't happen.
Commissioner, can I have your language one more time? Do we know how many lakes this would apply to?
I do not. Potentially Fawn Lake is one I'm thinking of. But that's about the only one I can think of. Thanks.
So I think we've had a number of discussions in a very piecemeal fashion about how we treat our lakes with respect to buoys and speeds and all the. We now have another list or a set of recommendations. Some seem okay with the up to 150 feet generally. Some I think would require a little bit more research and conversation in terms of what we would and wouldn't allow for a homeowners association or other entity to do on their lakes. I think my preference would be at this point to continue the hearing to a date in the future and have a work session in between to work through some of these additional details and then come back with something that's a little bit better than kind of putting it together from up here with the differing opinions on what the effect of language like that might be. And I think that's an opportunity for us to maybe look a little bit more holistically at the boating regulations, and include the sheriff's office in that conversation in terms of what enforcement effects it might have on other lakes and that kind of thing. So I think we're at a point where this would be a significant change in some regards with these recommendations, and so I'd rather measure twice and cut once.
I could concur with that.
Then is there a motion to table this to a specific date?
Mr. Chair, I would move that we continue the hearing until October 16th's meeting, pending a work session with staff.
I'll second that.
Yeah, it's been moved and seconded to table this hearing and reopen it on October 16th after we have a work session. Can I assume that we will open it up for public testimony again at that time? Or?
Yeah, that's why I continued it. I didn't
But
there's
yeah.
yeah.
I just wanted to make sure we're all comfortable with that. Okay. Is there any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. The motion carries. And it is tabled. Next up. That table, that's closed. Next up is item number 10.2, public hearing to consider the following supplemental appropriations and budget transfer requests to the 2018 budget. Staff, Jennifer.
Hi, Jennifer Byerly, Mason County Support Services. And this is a public hearing in consideration of 2018 supplemental and transfer requests to the 2018 budget. The supplemental requests are as follows: $17,896 increase to Auditor's Elections Fund 001.030 from a Secretary of State grant, and $17,896 increase to Auditor's Election Fund 001.030 postage expense line due to increased postage expense offset by the Secretary of State grant. $127,500 increase to Solid Waste Fund 402 Department of Ecology grant, and $127,500 increase to Solid Waste Fund 402 ending fund balance due to Department of Ecology grant award to pay for already budgeted household hazardous waste and recycling expenses. $6,201 increase to Juvenile Services Fund 001.171 Office of the Governor grant, and $6,201 increase to Juvenile Services Fund 001.171 salary and benefit lines due to an increase in the Becca grant. $34,400 increase to Community Services Health Fund 150 drinking water permits and fees, and $34,400 increase to Community Services Health Fund 150 salaries and benefits due to an increase in revenue received from drinking water permits and fees. $20,000 increase to Community Services Health Fund 150 Department of Health grant, and $20,000 increase to Community Services Health Fund 150 various expense lines due to an increase in opioid funding grant from Department of Health. The total supplemental requests are $205,997. The budget transfers requests are as follows: $150,000 from current expense fund 001.320 ending fund balance to $150,000 Office of Public Defense Fund 001.240 to various professional services lines due to higher than anticipated expense levels during the 2018 budget process. $9,600 from current expense fund 001.320 ending fund balance to $9,600 non-departmental fund 001.300 for litter crew tipping fees due to increased tipping fees in 2018. $100,000 from current expense fund 001.320 ending fund balance to $100,000 non-departmental fund 001.300 for accrued leave due to increased accrued leave payouts in 2018. $115,500 from current expense fund 001.320 ending fund balance to $115,500 non-departmental fund 001.300 for risk management insurance due to a 21% unanticipated increase in 2018 insurance premiums. $675,000 from Solid Waste Fund 402 ending fund balance to $425,000 Solid Waste Fund 402 facility improvements, $250,000 Solid Waste Fund 402 for capital equipment to pay for transfer station improvements and replacement loader, $2,500 from current expense fund ending fund balance fund 001.320 to $2,500 Auditors Financial Services Fund 001.030 small tools and minor equipment to replace a broken printer. And I want to emphasize that that is Auditors Financial Services and not Auditors Elections, as was stated previously on documents sent to you. $30,000 from Treasurer's M&O Fund 180 ending fund balance to $30,000 Treasurer's M&O Fund 180 professional services due to increased title report costs. $14,500 from current expense fund 001.320 ending fund balance to $3,611 emergency management fund 001.050 ER&R vehicles, and $10,889 emergency management fund 001.050 professional services due to correction to the May 1st budget supplemental. $14,500 DEM revenue was applied to ending fund balance and should have been applied to DEM expenses. The total budget transfers are $1,097,100. Any questions on any of these?
$1,097,100.
100.
Is there anybody out there that has any questions from the citizens in regards to what was just presented? Hearing none. Any commissioners have any questions?
No questions.
Okay, we'll close that part of the testimony. Does anybody from the citizens like to testify on this issue? Would anybody like to testify? Hearing none, we'll close public testimony, move to commissioner deliberations. And if we don't have deliberations, I would actually entertain a motion to approve it as presented, and then I'll read the whole thing so it goes in the record, so we don't have to read it over and over.
Mr. Chair, I move approval of the budget supplementals and transfers as presented.
And I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded for the approval of the budget supplementals as presented to include, okay, the going glasses. All right. $17,896 to increase the Auditor's Election Fund 001.030. Secretary of State grant, and $17,896 increase the Auditor's Election Fund 0001.030. Postage expense line due to increased postage expense offset by SOS grant. $127,500 increase the Solid Waste Fund 402 Department of Ecology grant. $127,500 increase Solid Waste Fund 402 ending fund balance due to DOE grant award to pay for already budgeted household hazardous waste and recycling expense. $6,201 increase to Juvenile Services Fund number 001.171 Office of the Governor grant. $6,201 increase to Juvenile Services Fund 001.171 for salaries and benefit lines due to increase in the Becca grant. $34,400 increase to Community Services Health Fund 150 drinking water permits and fees, and $34,400 increase to Community Services Health Fund 150 for salaries and benefits due to an increase in revenue received from drinking water permits and fees. $20,000 increase to Community Service Health Fund 150 Department of Health grant, and $20,000 increase to Community Service Health Fund 150 for various expense lines due to increase in opioid funding grant from DOH. Budget transfers. $150,000 from current expense fund 001.320 to ending fund balance to $150,000 Office of Public Defense Fund 001.240 for various professional service lines due to higher than anticipated expense levels during the 2018 budget process. $9,600 from current expense fund number 001.320 ending fund balance to $9,600 non-departmental fund 001.300 litter crew tipping fees due to increased tipping fees in 2018. $100,000 from current expense fund 001.320 ending fund balance to $100,000 non-departmental fund 001.300 accrued leave due to increased accrued leave payout in 2018. $115,000 from current expense fund 001.320 to ending fund balance to $115,500 non-departmental fund 001.300 risk management insurance due to 21% unanticipated increase in the 2018 insurance premiums. $675,000 from Solid Waste Fund 402 ending fund balance to $425,000 Solid Waste Fund 402 facility improvements, $250,000 Solid Waste Fund 402 capital equipment to pay to transfer station improvements and replacement of loader. $2,500 from current expense ending fund balance, Fund 001.320 to $2,500 auditors, financial services 001.030 small tools and minor equipment to replace broken printer. $30,000 from treasurers M&O Fund 180 to ending fund balance fund to $30,000 treasurers M&O Fund 180 professional services due to increased title report costs. $14,500 from current expense fund 001.320 ending fund balance $3,611 emergency management fund 001.050 and ER&R vehicles $10,889 emergency management fund 001.050 professional services correction to the May 1st budget supplemental $14,500 DEM revenue was applied to EFB and should have been applied to DEM expenses with a total of $1,097,100. With that being said, is there any further comment or?
I'm sorry to say this, Commissioner, but I
Oh,
think
you're-
Jennifer did it much clearer.
I thought you were going to change something. I was saying you're not doing it to me. So wait till on your way out the door. I'll get you. No, I have no doubt she did.
I was impressed by how clearly you did that.
With that being said, is there any other further comments or additions?
Well, Commissioner, practice makes perfect.
Yeah.
If you want to run it again. you can-
Yeah, no, that's okay.
I just want to point out the $150,000 transfer for public defense. You know, public defense is one of those, again, items that we keep battling with the state on to have it appropriately funded. There are a number of states that fully fund public defense because, as we all know, and as you know, I hope our constituents here in the county know, when you get arrested and you get tried in court, it's the state of Washington versus it's not Mason County, and you know we have to keep, sounding that horn and going down to the legislature and having conversations with not only our delegation but others, so that they finally come to realize that they need to continue to pay their share of defense, public defense, and this is just evident of the growing cost in counties, not just Mason, but counties across the state, public defense. And so just wanted to take an opportunity to remind the legislature that they have an obligation to fully fund public defense in the state.
I couldn't agree more. It always surprises me, people don't realize not only do we have to catch them, then we have to hold them, then we have to try them, then we have to pay for the judges and the clerk's office. Then not only do we have to go through all that and feed them and house them and medical, but then we also have to defend them. What was it 2 years ago? 87%. We also defended when they say the state versus the state my rear. They give us a few bucks to do all that work. It's always the county that's carrying it. And it was actually mentioned in the debate yesterday. And I hope that somebody picks that up and takes that further, because they really should be paying for that. And there's nothing we can do about it. They keep changing the rules to where, especially public defense, now they can only do so many cases, but they didn't give us any extra money. We just had to find more. We literally tripled the costs that we were paying. Just
More
because,
than that, fivefold.
just because they changed that one law. Now we have the new one, of course, where they're saying people that are claiming to be indigent, we can't put any fines or fees on them, and that could be another loss to the county of between $500,000 to $1 million. We just don't know yet. Anything further?
No.
Thank you for everybody. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The motion carries. That hearing is closed. We're at the end of our agenda. Is there anything good for the good of the order?
Chair, I move that we adjourn.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded that we adjourn. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned.